So a couple of days ago, I made a video about vertical farms. Actually, to be precise, it was about vertical farms for coffee and tea plantations. And since then, I've actually been getting a lot of good ideas from somebody whose username is BlueGiant69202. I have no idea who this person is, but there's a whole bunch of comments they left on the video, and they're all really good ideas. They're all really good ideas and suggestions in order to be able to take something like this idea to the next level. Uh, I'm not personally too interested or super passionate about farming, but I don't know, for some reason, I don't know how my brain works, but uh, a portion of it is kind of focused on the prospect of vertical farming, which I truly believe is uh, has enormous potential. Anyway, so this idea is about growing trees in vertical farms, and I've been kind of thinking about this on and off, and uh, I'm always kind of wondering what's the way to bring about this idea and manifest this idea, considering some of the technologies that are in the pipelines or about to mature. So I was thinking about trees, and like I said, and so right now we only have one way of growing orchards or tree plantations, and that is to uh, put the trees in the ground. So whether you do it through a seedling or through grafting or some other process, all of these processes are inherently reliant on putting the tree in the ground. I was thinking though, what would it take to grow trees in thin air? Um, Growing plants in thin air is not a process that is alien or not possible. It is possible today, as I've mentioned in the other videos, and perhaps a lot of people who are going to watch this would also know. The process of aeroponics is basically growing stuff in air, and all you do is spray uh, a nutrient-rich mixture in the root system of that plant. So when it comes to trees, the problem is to be able to sustain the weight of the actual tree in a structure for you to be able to grow it in thin air. So if one were to be growing apricot or apple or I don't know, pineapple or coconut or any other tree uh, in thin air, then how would you do that, right? So that's a good question. I believe that's a good question, and I've been thinking about this idea on and off. So imagine if this was the tree, and this is growing in a vertical farm, which is a couple of stories high, and the weight for the actual vertical farm, I don't think is going to be a problem because as a species, we've been building skyscrapers for almost 100 years now. Maybe not, but definitely a couple of decades. So to be actually able to hoist or uh, put a structure like a vertical farm with tons and tons of weight, and to be able to do it in such a way that it is able to sustain on the crust of the earth, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I also have another video about interlocking mega structures when it comes to future cities, and I borrowed that kind of I kind of came up with that idea by looking at the root system of the sequoia redwoods, which are intertwined. But coming back to this idea, if you were to grow a tree in thin air, how would you do it? There's no ground for the root system to latch onto. There's no way for the tree to be able to support itself, balance itself, and grow in a particular direction, which is always upwards. But if there is no dependency for growing a tree in the ground, then you can grow them any way you want. You can grow them sideways, you can grow them upside down, or you can actually grow them the way they are, right side up. Any way you want. How would you do that? How would you sustain the weight of a tree? What I was thinking though is, actually, I gotta read this book. One sec. I gotta finish reading this book. It's about materials, and I've always had a kind of Latin kind of interest in, uh, well, a whole bunch of things, but materials is super fascinating. Um, and as I've shared in one of my other videos, there has been a breakthrough when it comes to how graphene is manufactured. So there's now a patented process for making graphene in a bit more quantity compared to how it's been traditionally made, which is to basically use a lot of energy in order to make a small amount of graphene. And graphene, for those who don't know, is probably the strongest material that we have made or come up with so far. And it's super conductive. It's got a whole bunch of other benefits. You can make a lot of cool stuff with graphene. So what I was thinking though is, I mean, it's kind of this is a couple of years, if not, I don't know how far away this idea is. But if you had a column, like any kind of structure, I've got an idea, some really good like kind of trail of ideas back and forth with Blue Giant 69202, and we're just he shared a whole bunch of he or she, I don't know who that person is. They shared a whole bunch of interesting designs and comments with me. And we're kind of taking a look at a whole bunch of things like Buckminster Fuller's, like the kind of designs he envisioned and came up with. But anyway, so coming back to this idea, what I was thinking was, if you had that vertical farm, then we could grow trees in a whole bunch of different ways. And what would happen is, for the trees to grow in thin air, we basically need to latch on to something. We need to latch on to those trees through a construct. So what I was thinking was, if there was a set of kind of grips or kind of like some kind of a construct, what would happen is the tree, we could grow it from saplings, and once they are of a certain size, there would be like some kind of a like clamp going around the tree, the bark of the tree, and it would be just enough strength to be able to hold on to the tree like that, and it wouldn't constrict the bark, and it wouldn't be tight so that the bark, how like sometimes you see one tree kind of intertwined with another, and one kind of restricts the other, and I don't know if you, whoever's watching has seen that. But doesn't it, the bark shouldn't grow around the tree. It shouldn't be too tight, and it shouldn't be too loose, obviously, because the tree is gonna fall through. What if it was if the clamps or these structures were just the right pressure grip, then the tree would be able to sustain itself, and that solved the problem of actually uh, growing a tree without the need for soil or earth. Now, how would this happen is the question. And I was thinking, so first, it's a problem of materials. Materials strong enough to be able to do something like this. I don't know how much a mature tree would weigh, but I'm assuming, depending on the type of tree, it could be from, I have no idea. I'm not going to make guesses. It really depends on the type of tree. But it's quite sizable. Anyone who's tried to move a decent sized tree would probably attest to the fact that there's a lot of weight that the bark of the tree and the branches and whatnot hold on to. Um, so what I was thinking was that the clamps would be some kind of a intelligent model where they would factor in the rate of growth for those trees, and it would have the numerical kind of values of how the tree grows in certain conditions, and then these conditions might be different in an aeroponic facility. Maybe they grow a little bit faster, uh, as well with the lighting system that would be coming in would be mostly LED lighting. So maybe that would be another factor. Um, but it would already have the historical kind of numerical values for it to be able to understand, or sorry, to be for it to be for the logic to be defined that the clamps are going to be of a certain pressure or restriction. The other idea is to place really tiny cameras right at the app, like at the juncture of where uh, the clamps are meeting the tree. You could place them there, or you could place them somewhere else, and they would basically monitor with precision how the bark's growing around the tree, and they would either move or they would just like kind of loosen up a little bit, and that's how you control the actual rate at which these clamp would just kind of continue loosening up a little bit over time, every couple of days, weeks, months, as the tree continues to grow and blossom. So this is just it's a really simple idea. All it requires is a new kind of a material, a design, uh, which can probably we can probably come up with that kind of design pretty quickly with computational design. That seems to be where design is going, versus hiring a couple of engineers to try to figure this out. You still need that, but computational design can do these kind of solve these kind of problems that much more efficiently. So you give the computational design a set of parameters saying we kind of grow this tree in this structure, and here is how it would hold on to it. So how should we design this? And it would just come up with a whole bunch of different designs. Um, yeah, I've just been thinking about this idea on and off, and I figured I'd take some time to document it. We need a new Johnny Appleseed for a whole bunch of different crops. Uh, when I walk through the superstores or the grocery stores, I witness signs of abundance. Clearly, there's a lot of abundance compared to, uh, I guess, 70 or 80 years ago, since the Great Depression. There's a lot of abundance. There's a lot of food, but we still rely on a couple of clusters of agriculture, especially when it relates to North America. Um, I think we should make the food system more distributed, and doing so would be good for everyone. Uh, it would be good for North America. It would be good for all the other communities where right now a lot of these crops and vegetables are imported from. This idea is definitely um, possible, considering the reality that we are heading towards energy abundance. So this is my idea for growing trees in air. Thanks for watching.